Welcome to being Sharon Gibson's podcast, PSG.
Hello, BSJ fighters. Welcome to a new season on Being Sharon Gibson Show. This is season 6, episode 1, featuring a wonderful guest, Debbie Charbonneau. She is a death doula. As intended, I'm going to transform your mind into a strong personal mind. Before I dive into today's topic, I'd like all of you to know that my TikTok community is absolutely different from my podcast community. So check out the videos on my TikTok platform as well as my YouTube channel. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank you so much, Sharon.
You're welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. It's a beautiful day today.
Oh, that's nice. Can you
hmm
tell us more about yourself?
yes. So I would say that as a death doula, my end of life work, I guide people who wish to explore and engage with the cycle of
Mm.
life, death, and dying. So it is very fascinating work. And I would say that my studies have been mainly in global shamanic and wisdom practices,
Mm.
along with some palliative care certificate that I did at my local college.
Wow.
And I also am part of a community death care Ottawa, which is a group in my city of
Amazing.
people who apply their skills and interest towards the end of life. And we create many events and gatherings in our area. I also volunteer in a local hospice.
That's nice.
hmm
So today's title is What Life Truly Means. And before I dive into today's topic, as we did in the last season, I'll be sharing a top rule for success from Tony Robbins. He is a motivational speaker and an author. Today's top rule is when you're truly unshakable, you have unwavering confidence even amidst the storm. All right, so now I'm really excited about today's topic, and which is what life truly means. And my first question to you, Debbie, is what are your thoughts on minimalism as a death doula?
That's very interesting, actually, because you can apply that in so many ways at the end of life or in
Yes.
regards to death and dying. So I would say first that I work with my clients' beliefs and traditions. So as such, I want to make sure that they have information they need to make decisions that reflect their values, what's
Mm.
important and what's not important to them. So one of the things that we do talk about is I don't necessarily call it minimalism. I'll give you some examples so that way it makes a little more sense there whenever it
Sure.
comes to end of life. Um, Releasing your possessions, for example, like clearing out your
Yes.
possessions and start doing that or earlier. It can actually, that can be a lifelong practice. You
Mm.
don't have to wait until the end of life, but
Yeah, that's
clearing
true.
clearing out your possessions so that your family members or your loved ones don't have the burden of clearing out all of your home and whatnot and your possessions after the death happens while they're also trying to grieve.
Yes.
That could be one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is after death care. For some folks, looking at how the burial options and how the body is disposed, for example, like
Mm.
having doing less is more, if you will.
Did a write up on minimalism
Yes.
recently, and for somebody who wants to have a big life, I wasn't writing it for myself. I was writing it for a writing company, and I was like, in my head when I was doing research, I was like, this looks pathetic because somebody somebody would sell their whole house and get, like, those type of cars that you can live in,
hmm
and we'll
hmm
move there and be traveling from one place to the other, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, he or she is happy. But I actually took some cues from that write-up and that project that I did. It really made me question myself and ask myself, okay, what's truly the meaning of life to me? What does success mean to
hmm
me? It wasn't a project I enjoyed doing because
Yeah.
yeah, because the minimalist team make life look fun for me, because I love like big things. I love to drive a luxury like, I love to
Yeah.
I love to drive a luxurious car like the Ferrari and all that, right? But the
Yeah.
minimalist, no, but I really learned a lot while I
Mm.
was doing that project, and I was able to question myself deeply and answer those questions, which really helped me to define life for myself. So how do we silence the noise and unlearn what we are told success is?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that personally, I went and learned about wisdom processes to
Mm,
silence the noise. And in doing that, in embodying those practices for myself, I bring that into my practice with my clients.
mm,
So as a death doula, um, an example could be that somebody is wondering, it's not necessarily, they're not necessarily going to talk about it as success, but they might talk about it as the meaning of their life. Like, was their life
yes.
meaningful or not, and
Mm,
how? So that we engage with those conversations so that they can start remembering what was meaningful, what is meaningful to them. And sometimes it is looking, because they're looking at it from a different perspective, right? They're not in the thick
yes.
of things, they're looking from a very different perspective. And sometimes that brings a lot of wisdom and a lot of releasing of what is no longer attached, like detaching from things that they
Yes.
need to detach from, because ultimately they'll be detaching from their whole life.
Mm, yeah.
It's it's a big deal, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you're able to do that in stages,
Mm-hmm.
then that is much more easier,
Mm,
if you will, for people.
yeah. So when you talk about the stage, are you talking about stages of life?
Yes, but really, when it comes down to it, your end of life work is really about teaching you how to live.
Mm,
It's about life. So uh, including those practices while you are in the active, if you will, healthier part of your life, really gets you into the practice of releasing, of embracing things that are
mm-hmm.
meaningful, letting go what is
Yes.
not, and being
Yes.
more
Yes.
authentic to who you are, right? Hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. For me, I would say in order for you to do that, like it's solitude. People run away from solitude. Even success to some people is about having a lot of money or being
Yeah.
popular, being heavily publicized. And one of the reasons why I've been able to get this definition is because of Gary Vaynerchuk. Thanks to him, I'm able to see that success is happiness. Am I happy? If I'm happy, I'm successful. Why
Yeah.
do I need to get the things in order for me to be deemed successful? When I was able to see success in a different way, it helped to boost my confidence and walk through this world like I own it, because I
Hmm.
don't look at the material things that I have or whatever is around me, but I look at what is within. Am I truly
Yeah.
happy? Am I doing the things that I love to do? And that's what
Hmm.
success is to me. Success is not a big thing, it's every single day. What are the most profound statements made by some of your patients on their dying bed? I'm really interested in knowing this.
So I'm gonna give you a story.
Oh, okay, I'm
Um,
listening.
so this client, because he loved life,
Mm,
and he was telling me about how his life, the way his perspective of living had changed the closer he got to his dying time.
mm,
And that what he pretty much ignored sort of 5 years ago, if you will, became invaluable to him. He had a
mm,
totally different view of his life,
mm,
and his experience of love changed. And it was so important to him. He cherished those moments, those connections with his loved ones, is what he cherished. And so when he would go through the difficult times, when it was painful and whatnot, then he had those memories to hang on to, because sometimes they are moments, but they are so meaningful and so much full of heart and depth that they sort of imprint on you.
yes.
It's something that nurtures you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was really beautiful to hear that from him, because he was really, it illuminated something for him, right? The way he was living his life. Because that's what a lot of people talk about when they are consciously sort of engaging with their dying time. Their
Mm,
perspective of life changes.
yeah.
So it's just, this is why, I mean, doing any kind of work with the dying or dead, death in some way, is really about life. It really
Yes.
brings you back to, how do you live? What is meaningful to you? What is not meaningful? You know?
Exactly. But
Hmm.
that client of yours, how old was he?
He was in his late 60s.
Oh, that's interesting. But
Hmm.
honestly speaking, I know this is a little bit off topic,
Hmm.
but some of our loved ones can can create horror stories and
Yes.
horrific
Yeah.
memories for us. These days, or even when I was growing up, being with family and your loved ones, everybody just talks about it. Loved ones. In so many songs, you would hear people say, mother, 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 my mother, you
Mm.
know. And in my life right now, I'm going through a time where it's like it's crazy. Obviously, my mom is reaching out and checking on me, but I've become an adult now. So now you can
Mhm.
see limiting beliefs. You can see the things that if I keep getting closer to her, or if I keep getting, I keep talking to her, I wouldn't be able to reach my full potential. So it's like it's hard. You really love your family, but at the same time too, you have to distance yourself because you really want to see how far you can get in life.
Very interesting.
I
'Cause
love my family. As you were speaking, I was like, oh, I can relate to that because I would love to spend time with my family. But all the times I've spent with them in December and April when I traveled to go and see them, it was horrifying for me. It was draining for
mm,
me. It was mentally draining for me. And I had to, I'm a soft girl, right? But I had
mhm.
to harden my heart and say, no, no matter what, you have to reach your full potential before you let anybody use their words to bring you down, because words are powerful.
They are. And this is some of the engagements I do with my client is sort of looking at what is manifesting for them, what is happening
Yeah.
for them so that we can get into releasing or embracing what needs to be embraced, but releasing what
Yes.
needs to be released or detaching. Sometimes it is
Yeah.
detaching, even though you love that person. You
Exactly.
may detach from the problematic areas, if you will.
Yeah.
So,
And I love the
mhm,
way you spoke about, like, the stages of life. So sometimes at a particular stage of your life, you don't need that person. You probably don't need your brother. You don't need your sister. You don't need that relationship at that time. But maybe the next stage of your life, you might need them. So that's
mhm,
why I love to preach individuality more than, groups and connection with people. I love to preach relationship with self, because you need to know at every stage of your life, who do I need? Because that informs how you see life. That informs, the perspective you will make out of life. I'm not walking around being an opportunist. No, but like,
mhm,
who does my soul need at this time in order to move to the next stage of my life and give to the world? It's not about
mm,
me. It's about the
mhm,
world. Because I feel
mhm.
like the world would really be at a better place if so many of us could live as individuals and search within, because all the solutions that we need is in each and every one of us, but the broken ones keep breaking others, and it's just becoming a cycle in the world, and people are calling it generational curse. No, it's because you didn't take the decision to go like, no, I'm going to break free from my family. All the problems in the world, most of it starts from family. You have to take, like, the decision to say, okay, no, I'm going to break from my family and define certain things myself. People might call you crazy, people will call you weird. But trust me, when you cross the other side and you're able to define it for yourself, it's life changing. I'm
Mhm.
still I'm
I
still on
think,
that journey.
yeah, I think for me as a death doula, and
Yes.
personally, I look at it as both and,
Yes.
because there's you as an individual and taking on what is going on for you so that you can heal those things.
Mm,
And it is also true that as human beings, are better living in community and having
yeah.
connection. It's both and. The thing is that when a group is, I'm going to say dysfunctional, okay, or wounded, then the wound can get perpetrated.
That's true.
Individuals in that group can heal themselves, and then that reverberates into the group,
Mm,
right? So that
yes.
there is more possibility for everyone to get healed.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
then, there's this selfishness in human beings, when and we all don't grow the same. So let's say
Yeah,
we're in a
yes,
group of five,
true.
and one person is just moving at a fast pace.
Hmm.
The person who is moving at a slow pace will want to find ways to bring that person to their level. That's the selfishness of human beings.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's a lot.
It
It's a
is
lot.
that, it
Yeah.
is part of it is that difference between the group mind versus the individual mind, right? And
Yeah.
finding that balance, finding how to heal yourself. Because whenever you break away from the family or the group mind, there is going to be backlash sometime.
Oh
And
yes, the will.
sometimes, because people are used to having you behave a particular way. And if you start
Yes.
behaving differently, it's like, well, what does that mean to the group, right? So
Yes.
in a healthy group, you're looking at each individual reaching their potential within and
Yeah.
contributing to the group, like you were talking about.
That's so true. That's so true.
Hmm
That's wise. In this season, I am
hmm
introducing something called the comfort break. And the comfort break is where I ask my guests random question. So today's
hmm
comfort break question is, tell us 5 things that make you happy.
I'm gonna say that first and foremost, what comes to my mind is my immediate family, like my husband, my daughter, my dog, and
I
I
knew you were
and
gonna
I
say dog.
have
I knew dog was gonna be in the list.
yes,
I knew dog.
yeah, my little whiskey man, and
Yeah.
I also have a community of women who are
Oh, beautiful.
extraordinary women in my life. We are a group of women who value each other's integrity, dignity, and
That's
authenticity.
beautiful.
So we challenge each other and to be better
Yeah.
people, and they are wondrous women.
Yeah.
And personally, I also love to read. I also love to go in nature, have an interaction
Yeah.
with the plants and with the
Mm-hmm.
trees and with my environment. I love that. And I love solitude.
Oh my God. That's my
Yes,
best friend.
I really do.
I
Yep.
love it too much.
Yeah.
So, with all that being said, what's the meaning of life to you?
Oh my God, that is such a huge question.
Yes.
When I think about it, it's sort of life is so full of wonders. There's such
Yes.
beauty to it, and there is pain. It's both
Yes.
and
Yes.
when you get to this acceptance that it's true, it's both then there is a peace that comes with that. And I
Yeah.
also part of my lifelong journey has been about transformation, and choice is or maybe our greatest power. In At any point in your life, you can choose to
Wow.
engage with things that are not resolved, for example. So that's what part of the work that I do with my clients. And when you complete with those things, it creates a lot more peace within.
Mm.
And doing that throughout your life helps to get to a place where you can die a more peaceful death, if you will. A
Wow.
possibility of that. So there's more, and when you work those problematic experiences out, there is more space for you to experience love and peace and like give and receive.
Mm.
And it's to me that's a lifelong practice.
That's
Hmm
beautiful. That's
hmm
beautiful. So you made mention of life is it's both ends, the
hmm
beauty and the pain. How does one enjoy life with all the detours
With all the detours,
of life?
I think it is by being in the both and. It's
Yes.
not it's not either or. It's not about shutting ourselves down. It's more
Mm.
about engaging with what is coming up
Mm.
and finding some way to this is not perfect. We don't all have the skills or the ability or even the opportunity at the time when something happens to be able to engage with it and work it out. But
Yes.
if, for example, there's a friendship that ends badly years ago,
Yeah.
and there's still some form of animosity, or maybe there's sorrow about that ending, you at any point could choose to engage with that to work that out for yourself. You don't need to
Yeah.
engage the other person or involve that other person.
No.
You can work that out for yourself, and
Yeah.
that really reverberates in the web of life. What we
Yeah.
do personally really affects we affect each other.
Yeah.
So me working things out for myself so that there is less animosity or sorrow or other things that are more problematic experiences, if you will, then that that message that reverberates like a wave out there, right?
Yeah. Most people feel guilty when they're in their happy state or in a very
Mm,
joyful state because they feel like,
yeah,
oh, any next minute something could go wrong. And people
right.
have that at the back of their minds. But one thing I learned to do this year is when I'm in pain, I
Mm-hmm.
don't pray for the pain to go away. I sit in the
Mm-hmm.
pain. I
Yeah,
cry. I
exactly.
cry. I sit in the pain. I will listen to sad music. I will cry. I
Yes.
will be in the pain. I don't care how long. Some pain took about, a week. Some took weeks. Some took days. Guess what?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm in my happy state, oh boy, oh boy,
Yeah, enjoy
I
it.
will enjoy it because I remember
Yes.
how I gave the painful moment its moment. So I will
Yeah.
give the happy moments its moment. And one thing I've learned about life is we are we are here to experience it all. The
Mm-hmm.
pain, the disappointments, the excitement, the heartbreak, the
Yeah.
love, everything. Like
Everything.
everything. Life is an experience.
Yep.
It's not about getting it right. It's
Mm-hmm.
about
Mm-hmm.
going through it all and having a beautiful experience and enjoying your experience and just leaving something behind, whatever you can, no matter how little you can contribute to the world,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when you die, you go home. I don't know where you go, but like I think that's where home is. I don't know, but I think that's where you go. So I allowed myself to be and experience all there is to me. And to be honest, right now I am navigating through life. I don't have it all figured out, but I'm beginning to understand life more. And one thing I learned, your purpose in life is to figure out how to live life.
Yeah.
Or your real job
It's
in life is to
beautiful.
figure out how to live life,
Mm-hmm.
and that hit
Mm-hmm.
me, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna figure out how to live my life, and
Yeah.
it's been a wonderful ride.
Yeah, we're here to experience it all. Like
Yes, we
we
are.
spirit and matter,
That's true.
in all its possibilities. Yeah.
Yes. So do you think
Hmm.
peace is something you find or work towards?
That's a very good question.
I was
And
blushing when I asked the question. I was like, oh my God, this is such a good question.
yes, it is such a good question. It's a secret question. And
Yeah, it
so
is.
so I'm going to answer by saying that personally, for me, seeking peace has been a motivator to start myself on the path of self-discovery.
Mm,
I think it
yeah,
is a natural result of transforming what within you is problematic or having problematic experience of life, if you will.
yes.
Then you process those. For me, learning the wisdom processes so that I and my shamanic tools have been invaluable because they've been part of me transforming these
Mm,
experiences so that I could have more experience of peace, more
that's so
consistent
cool.
experience of peace,
More consistent. That's so true.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes you can get so nervous about something, so anxious about
Mhm.
something, and takes away your peace. Even in a given,
Yeah.
in a
Yep.
day, or it happens.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that word, consistent peace. That's beautiful. So the more I show up, being my authentic self
Yeah.
and showing up unapologetically, the more at peace I am when I come home or when I'm out, and
Mhm.
the people's pleasing. Oh my God! Once you take that out of your life, you will find peace.
Yeah.
It's also one
Yeah.
way that you can bring peace into your life, but I don't think it's something you pray for. Like, oh, I
No.
need it. No, it's something you actually have to work towards and put yourself in situations that will help you grow as a person, so that
Mhm.
not anything would shake you or would take you off guard, or because we all have problems. I do have problems. I've
Mhm.
had like some crisis, but how do I react in the midst of that crisis determines
Mhm.
how hard I'm working on myself, and I'm working towards bringing peace into my life.
I would also add to that because
Yeah.
prayer and intention
Mm-hmm.
is one part of this, right? But
Yes.
the um I would also mention that people being active in your prayers, if you will,
Mm.
because you pray, you align your intention, so that
Mm-hmm.
because you're trying to manifest something, for example,
Yes,
peace.
yes,
But
yes.
then things show up, synchronicity shows up, or uh, situations, people, learning shows up, so that you can engage with that. So there, you are part of the answer to that
Mm,
prayer, and so are others sometimes
mm,
part of the answer to that prayer, so that you can engage. And you're right, part of the daily engagement that you have with yourself as to what is showing up in your life is part of the wisdom processes, if you
yeah,
will. It's part of being able to be right with yourself and the world, right?
yeah, yeah. That's
Hmm.
so true. So, what's one's life purpose? Is it something you find or discover?
Again, a beautiful seeker question. Um, I don't think there's a right answer to this, because these are really big exploratory
Yeah, they
questions,
are.
right?
They're very big questions.
So, so I'll give you my a bit of my story
Okay.
as an answer. So
Okay.
because a lot of people will ask me, how come I became a death doula? What
Mm-hmm.
happened?
Oh,
And
I'm very happy to
you
meet
know,
one.
yeah. So then,
I love to talk about death. It's so
yes.
crazy. I do.
So I often answered that death has been a companion for me my whole
Yes.
life. I grew up on a hobby farm, so therefore life and death was just part of our living, right?
Mm,
And when I was in my adolescence, there were a lot of tragic deaths actually in the
wow.
very small town that I lived in. So it was very present. And by the
Yeah.
time in my 20s, and I'm starting my search of my own self discovery and whatnot, my extended family started getting sick and dying. And I'm in the process of learning and adulting and whatnot. And by the time I'm in my 30s, my own siblings started sickening and dying. And
Wow.
I was part of the caregiving and whatnot. So in my 20s, that's when I started learning about the wisdom process. And I learned about herbalism. And through that, I was introduced to shamanism. And that's where it got really clear for me that I needed to apply my skills towards the end of life.
Mm,
So sometimes your purpose is revealed to you. Sometimes your purpose is like, there's so many ways that one can get in touch with their purpose,
yeah, like when
that
I fell sick.
and yeah, exactly,
I
for
felt
some
sick.
people
I
that
felt sick.
is,
I
yeah,
felt sick. It had something to do with my mind, and now I'm a
yeah,
mindset coach. Like everything I do, singing, running, books, everything I
exactly,
do is just towards like the mindset of people. Everything I
yeah,
do, like I'm driven
hmm,
because of what I went through. It's like it gave me purpose. So that's so
yeah.
true.
Hmm. So for me, I looked for wisdom, right? I onset this
Yeah.
self-discovery, and I need wisdom. So I started looking for wisdom, looking for teachers who could teach me, not and teach me about myself and what was going for me, but also I went looking for knowledge about death care, end of life care. Like,
Mm,
what is all this going on, you know? I had
yes.
helpers along my path. So
Yes.
then I started embodying that medicine so that I could then offer it to others.
Wow.
So, because
That's beautiful.
information and knowledge is one level of pursuit that I see a lot of people on,
Mm-hmm.
but wisdom is a totally
Mm,
different
mm,
depth of experience and
mm.
pursuit, you know?
That's
Hmm.
deep. That's so true. So I mean, that's so true. And even sometimes we can all have the same knowledge, and one would turn it into wisdom, and one would
Yeah.
turn it into I don't even know what word to use. So that's so true. Very
Hmm.
deep. So what life lesson? Finally, what life lesson do you live by?
I would say that there's so much more to life, and
Mm.
then meets the eye. And by that I mean our five senses.
Oh,
For me,
okay.
our five senses, right?
Yeah.
Because for me, I've had a lot of experiences, and
Mm.
how we be in the world, how we
Yes.
is important. We affect each other, our actions, and it reverberates in the web of life. And transformation and healing has just been part of my practice personally and professionally, so that
Yeah.
I could stand with my client and create meaningful experiences where in a time in their life when it can be really challenging for some.
Yeah.
And sometimes those moments of depth of connection, of heart, is
Mhm.
so meaningful and important.
That's true.
And bringing that grace in, right? And
Yes.
sharing that
That
grace
grace.
is
That's so
so
true.
valuable.
That's so true.
This is
Life
where a
is
lot of
big.
people, sorry, this is where a lot of people talk about having an opportunity to heal the soul, even though
Mm-hmm.
the body is dying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Life
Yeah.
is very big. It's big.
Yeah.
It's a big life. It's a big life.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, every time whenever I'm looking in the mirror, I go like, I want a big life. I want a big life. Like even what I'm seeing today, I want to see more. I want a big life.
Yeah.
And I tell myself that I'm open. Like I'm open to receiving or to working or to do what I have to do to live life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to limit
Mm-hmm.
myself. Life is so big. There's so much to life. So
That's so
much.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I love what you said about the five senses. There's so much more to us than just that. Like
Yeah.
human beings, once you're able to unlock your potential and unlock who you are as a person, you see that, oh my God, I'm so powerful. Like I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
But in that power, you get humble enough to know that, oh, there's also something that's above you, like the universe that's like, so it's just it's a whole lot. But this has been amazing. It's amazing how a 40 minutes conversation can feel like 2 minutes conversation.
I know, right?
Thank you so much for coming on my show. We've reached the end of episode 1, season 6. I'm just going to go over the top rule for today by Tony Robbins. He said, when you're truly unshakable, you have an unwavering confidence even amidst the storm. Thank you all so much for listening to the first episode on being Sharon Gibson's show. I love you as much as you love yourself. Until next episode, bye.
Have